you need to have some uniqueness in your product or service that you're offering, because market is flooded with different kind of products and services available. So why should somebody come to you? And what is so unique about you? Why do companies go for Great Place to Work? Or why do people go for Six Sigma, or for Japan Quality Medal, or for Deming Prize, or for ISO, or for QS? So why do companies do that? Correct. It's because every company knows that they are not perfect and there is scope for improvement.
Hello and welcome everyone to today's podcast of Skilled Sapiens. We at Skilled Sapiens believe in igniting the flame of potential in every individual and help you get evolved with us. Joining us today is a very special guest, Mr. Rajeev Tupsakr. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us.
My pleasure. Thank you very much for inviting me.
Thank you, sir. A little introduction about him and as well as me. I'm your host, Prerna Roy, and joining us today is Mr. Rajeev Tupsakr. He is the founder and CEO of RAMA Consulting. Prior to this, he has 26 years of corporate experience, having worked as the HR head for esteemed organizations like Mahindra and Mahindra, HCL, and many more. And he has also worked as the mentor of change for Niti Aayog. So we would love to hear from you, sir, all of your journey. So welcome on board. And so how are you, sir? How is it all going?
Thank you very much, Prerna. It's a beautiful morning and thank you for inviting me. It's a pleasure. And I look forward to the conversation today and sharing my thoughts and views with all of you.
Yes, absolutely. So, sir, like a little about RAMA Consulting, maybe how did you, start all of this on your own? What has your entrepreneurial journey been like?
I mean, my entrepreneurial journey has been, by God's grace, very fantastic. And I guess it's because of, the timing when I started it,
Okay.
And many organizations went through tough phase during the
Right.
Corona period. But that I see that as a very positive way of looking at it, because it led to a lot of innovation and it led to design of new systems and processes through which we could keep employees engaged and yet go for better productivity. So it actually opened the eyes for most of the business heads who were previously very conventional in the approach, in terms of saying that work from office only
Right.
was a typical mindset. But similarly for me also, what happened is because most of the organizations got used to online kind of work, it gave me a initial boost, because RAMA Consulting is into the gamut of HR suite, where we provide, leadership services, and we provide, coaching and mentoring. We provide training and development. And also we work a lot with, the business heads and the HR heads and function heads in terms of, helping them design their strategy, keeping people at the center, keeping the employees at the core, because most of the organizations, use employees as one of the resource. But I personally feel human is not a resource, and I talked about it earlier.
Yes.
So if any strategy is built with employees at the core, it leads to a significant change. And that's where this birth of RAMA Consulting came in. And I took this opportunity from 1st of August 2022.
And so you mentioned strong network, and do you feel that there are any other such major drivers that one must have in order to start their own venture?
So definitely, if you want to start your own, okay, you need to first know that there are a lot of people who will become roadblocks. Okay. I'll give you a classic example. As long as you are working, right, there is a lot of respect to you, given to you. Okay, is because of the position that you're holding.
Right.
Okay, not because of what you are. But generally what happens is people think that a lot of people are respecting me, but actually it is a position. The difficulty happens when you move out of that position and you say, I'm now independent. You will suddenly find there is nobody, talking to you. So this is a huge transition, that one has to go through, where one has to prepare their mind in such a way that if you're going to start your own business, right, you need to know that your previous position and experience which was there and the respect that you got, you will not get. This becomes a lot of demotivation factor, and therefore you need to be highly innovative and highly creative so that you're able to motivate yourself and energize yourself. The same, I'll give you a practical example. The people when you were working in an organization, and the minute you picked up the phone call and called anybody, first ring they will pick up the phone and they'll say, yes, sir. Okay. Because eventually you are one of the bosses, or at least related to that. Like I was HR head. So if I talk to any employee, first ring they will pick up because they know HR head is calling. Correct. Now when I'm independent alone, you will get an automatic reply. I will talk to you later. I'm in a meeting. I'll call back later. So you see, there is a huge difference immediately. Okay. Just 1 day difference before and after, right? And one who is wanting to start this, startup should realize that this is what reality is, and therefore not get demotivated and not feel sad, and not think, Arey, why? These are the same people for whom I worked. These are the same people for whom I supported. I planned for their career. I planned for their growth. I planned for their new roles, change, increment, etc. Today, they are not even looking at me, but that's reality. And this is one example of a big roadblock. Similarly, you will find a lot of other roadblocks because when you're in a corporate setup, okay, you have access to a lot of resources, right? But when you're alone, you will find it very difficult because you can't have access to various resources. So you have to start building again, all of that. So a lot of roadblocks come when you have a startup. If you have planned yourself in a way that these are the ones, that I will face and I will overcome, then that gives you a good head start. Okay. Rather than after a quarter or after 1 year, you realize, oh, this is becoming difficult for me to handle. Should I go back to corporate? Because many people think that way, after 1 year, they find that, momentum is not there, they want to go back. So this is from the behavioral perspective. I'm talking more from an HR perspective. Okay. And otherwise, from a business perspective, definitely you need to have some uniqueness in your product or service that you're offering, because market is flooded with, different kind of, products and services available. So why should somebody come to you? And what is so unique about you? That people will come to you for your services. So that is something for which you need to be highly innovative and creative. And again, I will come back to the point of networking, because most important is being able to reach out to people to sensitize them that such kind of service is available. That's the start point. They say they put a foot in the door. That this is just 1 foot in the door. But this networking can be done only after you have accumulated certain years of service. And that's where you see some of these startups where young people are taking the leap. Okay. If you have not understood the hands-on experience in terms of the product or service and do a startup, they face this challenge from the industry. And if you have, backed up with certain service, you find it easy to, go for a startup. I hope that answers your question.
Yes, sir. That definitely does. But it gives rise to more questions as well, as I'll be asking.
Please.
So, so you mentioned that we have to differentiate ourselves because the market is flooded. So what is your take on how to, what is the first step to reach out to people to make them understand that, okay, we are doing something different? How do you really leave that mark in people's mind?
Correct. So what you have to do is, you have built a network, right? Over the years. And now you have designed a product or a service which you want to offer. The first step I will say is, instead of going completely to unknown customers, right? Go to known customers. And when I'm saying known customers, means your own ex-colleagues, your own ex-friends, right? And they could be your, management batchmates, or they could be your previous, company batchmates, colleagues and all that. Go to them, the ones who are your well-wishers. 2 advantages will happen. First is you will get an appointment. That's a very big thing. To get an appointment itself is a very big thing. So first you get an appointment, and when you get to showcase to their team you get feedback. Okay, you get feedback about whether this product or service is going in the right direction, whether I'm thinking in the right direction, and whether this proposition is going to make a difference. Third and most important is, and when you do those discussions, you also understand their requirements better, right? And taking all these three together, you can then come and refine your product and service and go for your pitch to similar kind of industries later. Because if you have gone, if for example, there is a product for, let's say, background verification of employees, right? And you've gone to one of the IT industry first, IT company friend, who is a friend of yours. You did all the pitch, you got the understanding, you refined your product. Now, when you walk across to any other IT industry and make the product pitch, they will easily buy it because you're speaking their language. See, every industry and every company have their language. If you are able to speak that language, the connect becomes stronger. So what I do is I invest a lot of time in trying to understand what is their language, of the company. So this helps to break the ice very quickly, because then they start seeing me as an internal person and not an external person. Correct? Every company have their own short forms, jargons, and all that. If you're into the system, you pick up all that, and when you speak that language, they see your inside. Once they give you that door, it becomes easy for you to then, go for your final kill. So that's what I do.
It is all very, very insightful, sir. And
Thank you.
so another question I really wanted to ask was that you mentioned that when you work in a corporate, you have position, you have, power, respect, all of that. But is there something in particular that perhaps bothered you in corporate and you thought that, okay, this is not something that I will do in my own organization ever?
Many things. Okay. See, no one is perfect. No individual is perfect. No corporate is perfect. Correct? And that's why if you see, there is something called as Great Place to Work, which is in India. It's an independent organization, right? Which assesses various companies in that survey, right? So why do companies go for Great Place to Work? Or why do people go for, Six Sigma, or for Japan Quality Medal, or for Deming Prize, or for ISO, or for QS? So why do companies do that? Correct. It's because every company knows that they are not perfect and there is scope for improvement. So some of these things help you to identify the areas where improvement can be done significantly. And they not only help you identify the areas, but also guide you through the whole process of how the change can happen over a period of time. Correct? So in my organization, previous organization also, whenever I was, working at various heads, the intent was always, how do we raise the bar? How do we take organization from level 1 to the next level? For example, in my previous organization, when I joined the organization, we were ranked 110 in Great Place to Work across industries, across company in India. In my 5 years of service, I got rank 90, 85, rank 54, rank 21, rank 15.
Okay.
So you see, from 110 the day I joined to coming to rank 15, that shows, that tells you that how you can make a difference and how the organization itself evolves over a period of time. And that's why some of these becomes guiding guiding poles for us. So whether it is, Six Sigma also, for example, if you're in a manufacturing organization, many people go for Six Sigma because that helps them improve the productivity and the product quality, and thereby, leading into better revenue generations and cost.
And sir, another question that I just thought of right now, you mentioned that previously also mentioned that people are at the core of the work and you need to really focus on that. So according to you, how important is diversity and equity and all of these new age so-called terms that are entering into the business landscape? And do you think that they shape the course of, future course of the company in a major way?
Thank you so much for asking this, Prerana. For me, employees should be at the core, not anything. That is the key over there, right? And diversity, equity, inclusions are, three key dimensions which are now helping shape the organizations to differentiate between good places to work versus great places to work. So there's a difference that it is able to create. So if your organization aspires to be a great place to work, you definitely need to work on diversity, equity, and inclusion, right? And I'll elaborate a little bit more on them. But before I elaborate, what I want to tell you is today we have understood diversity, equity, inclusion, which was not known maybe 10 years ago.
Right.
But after another 10 years, maybe something else may come.
True.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So that is something that we need to remember and go ahead with, right? Now I'll tell you, for example, one of the projects that we did, right? And we had our people working on that project, and we formed, cohorts or teams. We used to have a competition, and the teams generally used to get formed from within their own departments. And then the old departments will come with suggestions and programs which will help either improve the revenue of the company or will help optimize the cost of the company. Okay. So this way they will try to contribute towards the company, in a way they want to do that. But when I joined, I thought that why are we restricting ourselves only to department wise? Why can't we cut the whole department badge, okay, and say, look, all people across the company, they can form their own teams and then they can come with the best solution. So the next year, what happened after that was, somebody, from sales, somebody from HR, somebody from finance, all clubbed together, because they're friends with each other. They're close to each other. They like bonding with each other. They're natural, groups. They have their own lunch together. So they started coming together, and you see the kind of ideas that we got were breakthrough, which conventionally the department was tunneling vision. They were only looking at their department and seeing. But now this looked at a company perspective, and they were able to also open up, across the company. Second, what it did for me, the best part is, apart from all the, good ideas that we got either for increase of revenue or cost optimization, for me, the biggest satisfaction was everybody started appreciating each other's work and every other colleague. Because every time, people will say, Arey, finance means if you send anything bill, it will take more than 30 days, 45 days for them to process. They are very slow over there, in their understanding. Or, if HR is very dangerous department, you better stay away from HR. If you talk to them, they may use that information against you or use it against somebody. So these are all silos and barriers, created. Now this helped them, this whole program helped to break all these silos. And when finance person was sitting with various departments and talking, so they discussed that why does it take time? And when the finance explained that, look, finance is not just about signing one check and giving. There is a certain due diligence, certain process that we need to follow, and there's a system that we need to go. Then they started understanding, oh, this is how it works. I was not aware of this. And now I appreciate why you take 30 days, and how I should be doing better, so that the data that I give is easy for you. Because most of the time they'll submit something, it comes back again for a want of more data and then goes back again. So they started understanding how they can, do better and support each other better. So marketing, for example, in marketing department, classical example, launch of anything has to be done. The team will come and say, Monday is the launch. Today we are on Wednesday. 3 days mein creative chahiye. We want all the creatives. We want the entire campaign. Marketing will, come on, man, you should have told me in advance. Then I'll be able to do a better job. And some of these you would have related to, the place where you are today. You will experience this also. Some programs come at a very short notice, and then we have to do so many things to make it happen. Now, so these people will say, what is marketing doing? It is just a, soft copy picture that they have to create. How much time does it take to create one picture? Because they don't understand that that's a thought process behind that. It's not about just creating one GIF or putting some key motivation words or keywords, and just give one poster or something. There's a thought behind that poster, and that has to be connected to, the whole program initiative, the vision, mission, and all that. So this appreciation came when we brought them together. You see, so this is how it helps when, organizations are using, people in a better way. Same way, now this became diversity from this perspective. Correct. Right. Second is when we started hiring people from various, states as well as abroad and putting them together, the learning again went up significantly. So the problems became very easy to solve because everybody was in one group, because of diversity, there was a diverse knowledge coming in over there. You know, so this led to actually, if you see, the birth of something called as knowledge management. And today, most of the organizations are now focusing on knowledge management because this is the power, that you can do. And if you don't include your employees, which is inclusion, then actually organizations are losing out on the biggest asset. You know, I mean, you can pay an obscene amount to outside consultants, but if you pay a fraction of the money to your employees, you will see better, results.
Correct.
And if the management understands this, the better. And that's where the company's, great place to work. Utilize the employees in a much more effective, manner. The gap now still lies in equity, and especially in terms of gender equity, it still persists. While many of the organizations have started, working towards that, it's of course it's a slightly complex issue because it's also an entry level issue. So if I go for a manufacturing organization and at the shop floor, if I want, woman gender to add on, there should be sufficient number available, at the engineering level.
Correct.
So if the input is less, the entry is also less. But the good part is management has opened their thoughts and they've kept a goal to themselves that, okay, at least 2030 or 2035, we will touch some 20%, 25%, 40%. So they've kept a goal for themselves and moving in that direction. But that's what, to summarize, I'll say diversity, equity, inclusion are very, very crucial. And the distinction between good place to great place is people who are able to leverage these things in a very effective manner.
Truly insightful. And sir, now coming to, there are so many startups in India, and in recent years, it has had such a boost. And as you mentioned, these are the things that should be done to make things right. However, we see a lot of startups also failing at the same time, even the big names. So according to you, what is it that is going wrong, and what are the possible things that could go wrong in a new startup that is just, learning to stand on its
feet? Four things, that largely contribute to where a startup goes into failure mode. First is not investing enough time in ideation phase. So I see a problem, I think this is a solution, and I immediately go for, design, development, and implementation. So there is not much quality time spent on ideation phase, okay, in really understanding problem. So if you understand superficially, you will provide superficial solutions. And that's where, most of the startups have failed. Okay, that is number one. Second is they don't, invest in getting HR in the early stages.
Okay.
So they will get a finance head, they will get a sales head, they'll get an IT head, design head, and the HR, they'll say, we'll manage. The owner founders will say, we'll manage from our sides only. But when it becomes 50, when it becomes 100 employees, it becomes challenge to manage.
Absolutely.
Because founders' way of doing things, okay, and the culture of the organizations can be different.
True.
And for organizations to become sustainable and grow from startup to large scale organization, from the day one, seeding of culture has to happen. Whereas, the typical mindset is let us save some cost because HR person we bring, there is an additional cost that will add on. We'll have to pay salary to that person. Plus, some activities will start happening. So let's save on that. But that save is where they're missing the seeding part. And then suddenly, the culture is unmanageable. It leads to hire and fire situation. And suddenly it leads to a collapse. So that is another, big thing which is there. Third thing, what I see is immediately people go for funding. Okay. Now funding is, double-edged sword. Okay. If you have got a very concrete plan in your mind, which is crystal clear and, proven, then the funding helps and you can walk on that path. Now, if that is not there, once the fund has come, if you don't give them the return, you are under pressure. True. And that's where the startups start failing because most of the investors will start now putting pressure on you. So what happens is your time, okay, like for example, you have come with an idea and you want to do something, correct? Now, for that idea to fructify and for that idea to really reach to the customer, you have to invest your own time, because it's your baby. Correct? It's your baby, you have to invest your time on the baby. Now, let's say your time is going to address to all these queries, giving a pitch over there, giving another pitch there, solving their queries, giving the responses, answering people who have invested in you, trying to, cover up for what's happening, right? So where is your energy going? Your energy is not there in your core. It has left the core.
Right.
So what will happen to the baby? The baby dies.
True.
And that is where startups fail. Right? Because world is dynamic, right? If you have thought of an idea and you have built it today, the validity is only for 6 months.
Correct.
Right? After 6 months, if it has to survive, means continuous research and development has to happen, and continuous feature addition and continuous changes have to be done. So for passionate about this has to spend time. If that person's time is spent somewhere else, then startup collapses. Okay. And the last one is having the right set of partner combination. Okay. Typically, what happens is, 2-3 friends come together,
Right.
or 2-3 colleagues come together.
Right.
But what happens is, business life is different to personal life. In personal life, you may be very good friends with each other. Okay. But for business to be successful, each one should be able to add value and should have their own domain strength to complement with each other. If that is not the right combination, then again startup faces challenge, because there is an emotional trauma. How should I tell my friend that you are doing wrong? And this is not the right way to do it.
Right.
So emotional trauma overtakes the business decisions, and that's where they take wrong decisions or delayed decisions, which impact the overall startup. So to summarize, these are the 3 or 4 things on priority that lead to a startup failure.
That is like, I really learned a lot. It seemed like you literally broke it into step by step. Very, very insightful. And so I'd like to ask you that, according to you, how should suppose you already mentioned that the person should first have a basic understanding of what they are going into, and could you maybe break this into pieces too, that what is the step-by-step procedure that a person entering into the entrepreneurial journey should undertake to ensure the best result possible?
So, yeah. I mean, one who is passionate about entrepreneur, correct, should be first very clear that this is an investment for 2 years with zero return.
Correct.
So that means person has to be financially sound.
Right.
Okay. Because see, your focus should be only on product/service, delivery to customer. If you think of finance, sales, marketing, these pressures, then you're gone. Then you won't focus on the core. Okay. So first step is ensure that for next 2 years, you will not worry about your basic needs. Okay. Then you invest your time to identify what is the right product or service in your area of interest. Don't go by what is happening in the market and say there's an opportunity here. Like for example, in the last 2 years, if you see, everybody has focused on developing trading apps, stock trading apps. Earlier we used to have 1 or 2. Now you got 20 options over there, whether it is Angel One, Zerodha, Alice Blue, you name it, and every other person has come. Now, have you taken this up just because there is some noise around it in the market, or are you really passionate about it? So most of them, miss on this. So first thing, decide what is your passion area and what is it that you would like to, work and contribute in which area. So that is the key. Third, do a deep research, primary and secondary research into that area to identify what are the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats for that. Once that document is ready, then you start mulling over the problem and the solution that you can give. Correct? Then get into the ideation phase in terms of design thinking of how should I include this product, and try to visualize. Most of the times, startup do not visualize. The power of visualization is very, very important. So you should be able to visualize that after 6 months, this is where I will be. This is how product will look or service will look. After 12 months, after 1 year, after 2 years, after 3 years. If that visualization is not clear, then again you're going off track. So that path has to be drawn out very clearly over there. Okay. And then find out whether you want to do it individually or you want to do it with like-minded people. Okay. This is the fifth step. Whether you want to do it collectively with like-minded people. And if like-minded people, what are the strengths do they bring on the table? Don't add to your own strengths. It is useless. Complement your strengths. So if you are good at sales and HR, find somebody who's good at finance and operations. So get some combination like that, which will add value to the organization. Correct? Once you've got this, don't discuss about this idea with hundreds and thousands of people, because then there is chance of somebody picking this out and then duplicating it faster than you and better than you. So then that is a risk that you are carrying over there. Okay. Then go ahead with your normal ideation phase. Go out and test with the customer. If the customer response is good, go into design phase, then go into the development phase, and then finally you can go for the launch phase. While you're doing all these things, think of yourself as a business head as well as an entrepreneur. Now these are two different things. Okay. So when I say business head, you're thinking from sales perspective, marketing perspective, HR perspective, that is people perspective, okay, operations perspective, that is what you'll think for. From an entrepreneur perspective, you will see whether this is the idea, which is idea of the future, which is really going to make a difference. So this is more innovative, creative thinking, and this is more about structured processes coming in place. So a combination of these two has to come with you for the startup to be sustainable. Okay. And of course, get right people around you always, because as I told you, life is full of roadblocks and there will be hundreds of people who will come as roadblocks. How do you overcome? What are your ways of keeping yourself motivated, your team motivated, and how do you face various challenges? So these are some things, That's why I say that if you invest in right people, they will carry 90% of your load. Okay. 10% only you have to carry the load. Rest all they will carry. But what happens is they will get very, very junior people. And when very junior people come, then the junior people's load also they are carrying apart from what they should be doing. So now you see there is a problem, a compounded problem. But if you get good quality people and pay them well, they will carry your 90% load. You should be focusing only on the product or service. So this is a systematic approach that one needs to take. And last but not the least, always be open to change. Okay, because when you're visualizing something, things may not work out that way. Like we never thought that Iran and Israel will happen. Right. We never thought that Russia and Ukraine will continue for so long, and we don't know tomorrow what may happen. So if we have thought something, and environment around us has changed, or government, for example, they change some laws, compliances, regulations. If that change happens, that may be impacting our product or service. So we need to be flexible at that time, agile at that time to tweak it and comply, make it, slightly different in alignment. So that's what I would suggest.
Thank you so much, sir, for breaking this down so in such simple language, so that is so easy to comprehend. I'm sure our viewers would really be getting a lot of insights from this and applying this to their real life. And so thank you so much, sir. This has been such very, very insightful journey to have learned so much from you. And
thank you so much. My pleasure.
Right. So that is a wrap for today, guys. I hope you found this episode, this podcast as insightful as I did. If you liked it, please leave a comment down below and subscribe to our channel. And we'll see you in the next podcast. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Prerna. Once again, thank you so much. Have a nice day. Bye.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining.